Welcome everybody to this interview with Alexis Conason. Hello, Alexis.
Hi.
So before we move on with the interview, I'm going to introduce you to Alexis. She's a licensed psychologist in private practice in New York City. Her practice specializes in the treatment of overeating disorders, body image dissatisfaction, and sexual functioning. She is the founder of the Anti-Diet Plan, an online mindfulness-based program to help people stop dieting, start eating with more attunement to their bodies, and live their lives filled with joy, peace, and pleasure. Dr. Conason is a fierce advocate for helping people recognize and question the societal norms that encourage feeling not good enough about themselves so that they can live their most fulfilling lives at any size. So hello, Alexis. Thank you and welcome to this sixth edition of the World Mindful Eating Month.
Hey, thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes. So Alexis, the theme for this year has been cultivating the mindful eating practice, planting the seeds of self-compassion. Could you tell us what that means for you?
Sure. Well, I think it's such a wonderful theme for the year because I think that self-compassion is one of the most important things that we can do for ourselves. It's certainly one of the most significant things that I work on with clients because I think we just tend to be so hard on ourselves all the time. And this really gets us stuck in It's really hard to move forward when we're constantly at odds with ourselves. So, I think that self-compassion is something that I really try to kind of bring into my life, both through formal meditation practice and also just through kind of holding the intention to treat myself with kindness and, trying to come from a place of working in collaboration with myself rather than being at odds with myself, which is so often kind of, I think, what we're taught to do, to approach ourselves with like this harshness and conflict. And it really is such a difficult thing to overcome. So I think that self-compassion is like one of the most important things that we can do.
And with the innocent idea and wrong idea to improve ourselves, but we always are very tough on ourselves, aren't we?
Exactly. I think that so many people, when I talk, I know I certainly believe this for many years myself, and it's something I see a lot in my clients, that when we think about self-compassion, or what I think is a very related idea of acceptance, we tend to think, well, if I accept myself, if I'm kind to myself, I'm just going to be stuck. Like, I'm not going to have the motivation to change anything. And it's completely the opposite. It's when we are at odds with ourselves that we're stuck and we're not able to move forward because we can't see what's happening around us. So how can we possibly take any step to get ourselves in a different position? So I think that self-compassion and acceptance is what sets the stage to be able to make those changes that we want to make in our lives.
And it requires a practice for some of us because initially we're like in the void of what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen, but it does require a practice. Trying once and another time, no? It's a lifetime practice.
For sure. And I think that it's that formal, the time that we spend on the cushion, so to speak, like it's that opens the space to be able to even realize when we're not being self-compassionate towards ourselves. Because I think that so many of us, there's just this chronic, constant, kind of like self-criticism that goes on in our minds. And most of us don't even realize that it's happening. So I think it's through meditation where we're able to like slow down, kind of like get out of the, take a step back from the forest, so to speak, and be able to like look clearly at what's happening, that we're able to say, oh, I'm being really hard on myself right now. And that's the first step to self-compassion, I think, is just recognizing that harshness and that critical voice and labeling it, that it's not necessarily the truth, right? Just because we think it doesn't mean it's true, but it's just, something that's happening right now that we can observe and that we can kind of take a step back from.
Now that you mention it, you mentioned the cushion. Can you share with us a meditation or a reading or exercise or a practice that helps you cultivate your own seeds of compassion?
Yeah, so I'm going to give two things actually, if that's okay.
Yeah.
One is the formal meditation practice, which I recently took a training with Tara Brock, who is doing a lot of work right now with uh, she's calling it radical self-compassion, and she has a practice called the RAIN meditation, which is, I think, recognize, allow, identify, and nurture, right? And the nurture is the self-compassion piece. So I think that that practice on the cushion, is one that really kind of opens the space to, kind of, like I was saying, recognize the habitual patterns that we're in and to find a way to move forward with nurturance and self-compassion. And so that's one practice that I really love for self-compassion, kind of fostering self-compassion. And the other one is more specific, I think, to eating and the body, and that's a gratitude practice for our bodies. Most of us spend so much time focused on like what's not working well, things we don't like about our body. I think we're really trained culturally, at least in the United States, to like not like our bodies and to look at everything that's wrong with it and all the ways that we can make it better. And I really like to do a practice of just like identifying one or two things that I feel grateful for about my body, and to focus in on those things for a moment or two, or to focus in on them in my mind, or even to journal about them for a few moments. And there's actually some research that shows that that journaling for, I think it's just like a few minutes, maybe 3 minutes or 5 minutes each day on specifically about gratitude for your body, can actually improve body image. So it's really powerful.
Thank you. Well, if where can we find these meditations that you mentioned? Do you have them in your web or?
Yeah, so I can give you the link to Tara Brock's website, and she has a lot of free resources that I think are really wonderful. And then the gratitude practice, I have a blog post that I can send from my Psychology Today blog where I wrote about this.
Oh, that would be excellent. So we can share those as resources with our audience. Well, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you as well, Alexis, for all your contributions on the private Facebook group we've been having. It has been really an honor having you around. And thank you for your contribution to TCME, because we didn't mention, but she's a TCME board member since last year, isn't it?
Yes, I just joined recently, the end of last year. So I'm really happy to be on board and to be part of such a great community here.
So you will be hearing more about Alexis in our TCME webpage. So thank you very much, Alexis, and lovely to have you here.
Thank you.